Raider Nation, thanks for pulling up to Raiders Rebel Unleashed. I'm your host, Raiders Rebel. If you're new to the channel, sack that thumbs up. Give me a Mad Max kick on the subscribe button. And if you're vibing with this content at the end of the video, tickle them noties. It lets me know you're vibing with this content and you want to be notified when new content is dropped. My nation, coming up on today's show, stick around to the end. You are not going to want to miss this. 4 dynamic trades the Las Vegas Raiders could possibly pull off to move up in this year's NFL draft to get our guy Jayden Daniels and also keep our 13th pick overall. Just like the Texans last year, Raider Nation, 10-6. They made the playoffs. They got CJ Stroud and a dominant machine, a defensive tackle. 2 first-round picks. Look where they ended up. The Raiders are looking to pull off the same scenario possibly and get 2 first-round picks this year in NFL draft and move up to get Jayden Daniels. So stick around. You're not going to want to miss this. Let's get unleashed. Raider Nation, 4 massive, huge trades on how we can go get Jayden Daniels in this year's NFL draft. We'll go from top to bottom. Number 4 is the Texans. They have the 7th round pick. They do not need a quarterback because they drafted a quarterback last year. A quarterback I was screaming for the Raiders to go get, Will Levis. The man is an absolute phenomenon, physical freak. The dude is an absolute beast. His arm is insane. Like I said, just a physical specimen. The Raiders should have got him last year, but of course we had Dick Daniels as a coach. Just ridiculous. So no Will Levis. The Titans get Will Levis, and they don't need a quarterback in this year's draft. So they have the 7th pick overall. My trade scenario is Kolton Miller. They need an offensive tackle. I know Kolton Miller's our #1 star tackle. He was hurt last year, missed a lot of games. Munford stepped in, played his ass off, in my opinion. The kid held his own. He didn't give up many pressures. He protected AOC pretty solid, in my opinion. So we have Munford. We also have Dalton Wagner, 6'8", 320 pounds on IR from last year. He could also pop out and be a breakout star this year. We also have Heron. I mean, hasn't showed anything yet, but with AP and the new coaching staff, man, AP's a motivator, and he's going to get the best out of everybody on that roster. So we have Heron. We have Dalton Wagner. We offered Kolton Miller a 1st round next year. And if they don't bite, we throw in maybe a 3rd. They should bite with that. A 3rd, maybe a 5th. So we only do this if Jayden Daniels is still on the board at number 7. If not, then this trade is not even worth talking about. But if Jayden Daniels is still on the board, we go get Jayden Daniels with the 7th pick. We take our 13th pick, and we go get the next offensive tackle on the board. Or we go get the next corner on the board or defensive tackle on the board, because we could really use a stud defensive tackle in the 1st round, kind of like the Texans did last year. They had 2 first-round picks. Look where they ended up, 10-6 in the playoffs. CJ Stroud, just a stud. Speaking of the Texans, George Fant. He's a swing tackle. The man played his ass off last year. They had Titus Howard, a high draft pick who wasn't doing very well. They moved Font to the right side where he stayed, solidified that spot, played 13 games, was a big reason why the Texans and CJ Stroud made it to the playoffs. He kept his quarterback upright, had a very, very solid year. He's going to be a free agent this year. And Howard signed a contract before the offseason started for an extension. So he's going to be their tackle of the future. And we have George Fant, who's going to be a free agent. This would be a huge pickup, especially if this trade works out and we trade Kolton Miller. If not, oh well. That's the scenario there. There's a huge free agent offensive tackle. George Fant, I think, would be a huge asset to the Raiders. Dalton Wagner, I think, could probably come in and start if he has a full offseason with a coach like AP and the Philbon and all these guys, Getsy, that we brought in. Man, that kid's just a monster, a physical specimen, just a mammoth of a man. I think he would be a huge pickup if he could have a breakout year. Or we go get a guy like Font in free agency. Second, we have the New York Giants. New York Giants, they got a quarterback. They're probably going to stick with him unless they decide to go away from him. Who knows? It's the NFL draft. Anything can happen. But they also need a tackle to protect that quarterback who was injured last year and didn't play the full season. So we trade Kolton Miller, offer Kolton Miller and a first round next year. If they don't bite, we throw in maybe a third this year and a third next year. For the sixth spot, that's only if Jayden Daniels is still there. Again, same scenario. If Jayden Daniels is still on the board, we trade with the Giants. If they agree, we go get Jayden Daniels. And same scenario, we go get the best tackle, defensive tackle, corner, whatever. After we select Jayden Daniels with our 13th pick, or a man that I'm really big on, but I'll tell you that in the last trade scenario. So stick around. If you like the video this far, like, subscribe, tickle them noties. It lets me know you're vibing with this content. You want to be notified when new content is dropped. So with that being said, to find out the last trade scenario, you are not going to want to miss this. I promise you, Raider Nation. If you're a diehard Raiders fan, you're going to want to watch. So the Giants, that's that scenario there. We go get our guy at the sixth spot if he's still there. The next option in trade scenario is the Arizona Cardinals. At number 4, they also do not need a quarterback because they have Kyler Murray, and I plan on probably going with Kyler Murray, sticking with Kyler Murray and seeing what they got. He was injured next year. They have a new offensive coordinator, new head coach. Well, not new, but new head coach. So the Arizona Cardinals, it's going to take a lot more because they're sitting at the 4 spot. They're not going to go for all that nonsense. But they also need an offensive tackle. So we offer Kolton Miller a first round next year, a third this year, and a third next year. If they don't bite on that, man, we throw in a second this year, a second next year, whatever it takes to move up to that 4 spot to go get Jayden Daniels. Again, we take Jayden Daniels at that 4 spot. We keep our 13th spot, and we select, I don't know, let me know who we selected at 13th spot. Raider Nation, if you were the general manager, Tom Telesco, or AP, the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, and you had 2 first-round picks, of course, you're going to take Jayden Daniels with the first one. But with the 13th pick, who would you select? Would you go offensive tackle? Would you go defensive tackle? Would you go cornerback? Would you take a running back? You don't know if JJ's going to be there next year. Let me know in the comments below who you would draft with the 13th pick if we had 2 picks in the first round. So last but not least, the huge shocker, the New York Jets. Yes, the New York Jets. Everybody knows the rumors. The Jets want Devontae. Aaron Rodgers is pretty much running the show over there. It seems like he really wants Tay back on his team. They need Tay. They need Tay bad. If Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy, they also need offensive line, but we're not giving them Kolton Miller and Tay. That's just ridiculous. So if they really want Devontae Adams bad enough, the word on the street came out today that it's going to take 2 first-round picks to get Devontae Adams away from the Las Vegas Raiders. So if the Jets are willing to pay that price of 2 first-round picks, we give the Jets Devontae Adams. We take those 2 first-round picks and we move straight up to number 1 or number 2. We leverage those 2 first-round picks and a first round next year. That's 3 first-round picks, maybe a third this year and a second next year if that's what it's going to take to move up to number 1 or number 2. So we leverage those picks. We get rid of Tay. We go straight up to number 1 or 2. We get our guy Jayden Daniels. Raiders. We go get our guy Jayden Daniels. And with the 13th pick overall that we keep, we go get the replacement for Devontae Adams because he's probably going to be on the board at number 13. If I was a GM, he would not be on the board if I had any of the picks before 13. But this man will probably be on the board at 13, and we will reunite Jayden Daniels with one of his favorite receivers and the best receiver in this year's NFL draft, in my opinion. Raiders Rebel, you heard it here first. Dude's going to be an ultimate stud. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's going to be a multiple Pro Bowler. No, it is not Neighbors. It is BTJ. That's right. Brian Thomas Jr. So we go get Brian Thomas Jr. with the 13th pick. We reunite him with Jayden Daniels. Raider Nation, let me know in the comments below, if you were the GM and could make any one of these trades, which would be your favorite trade and why? Also in the comments, let me know, if you can make this trade with the Jets, would you trade Devontae Adams for 2 first-round picks and select Jayden Daniels and Brian Thomas Jr. at the 13th pick? Man, this offense would be banging with this Misfits defense. This team, this roster is already insane. We have the youngest defense in the NFL. They're ranked in the top 10. They're going to be solid for a long time. So we don't really need to go crazy on defense in the draft, but I would really like to go get that kid out of Miami, Wilkins, in the middle. Man, that would solidify the defense for sure. Let me know in the comments below, Raider Nation, if you're vibing with this content. As always, sack that thumbs up. Give me a Mad Max kick on that subscribe bell. Tickle them noties if you're vibing with this content. Raider Nation, much love. We out. Raiders. Peace.